Hey, welcome back to another edition of the Bible, Bearded and Bald. Today we will be looking at a supplementary edition of part 3 in our chronology of Jesus Christ. This is 3A. We're going to dive in a little bit more into the details of Christ's ancestry. His ancestry begins back at Adam, as revealed in the book of Luke, but, all of our ancestry begins with Adam. And pretty much, I think, most everyone's ancestry involves the 10 men from Adam to Noah, because there was not a lot of mixing between the two lines, between Seth's line, which seemed to stay true to God, and then Cain's line, which was living in rebellion against God. However, it may have happened, but that seemed to be a cause for the flood. But when you get to Noah, a lot of people give Noah a hard time for getting drunk after the flood, but I just want you to think about the PTSD that people have had when they came back from Afghanistan, Iraq, Vietnam, Korea, Europe, and the world wars. And then think about the PTSD that Noah experienced when everything he ever saw, every person he ever knew, except for his 3 sons, their daughters, and his wife, every one of them died. They perished. Some of them he loved very much. Some of them probably came this close to getting on the ark. And yet they were all dead. Every place he ate at, every business he ever knew was completely devastated. And then the earth, it looks completely different afterwards. Lots of jagged rocks, different mountains and things. And he also spent a year and 10 days on an ark filled with animals and their poop. So the man had some PTSD, and so he made some wine and he got drunk in his tent, and there was a disturbing episode between him and his son Ham, and there's a lot of theories on what actually happened there. But you have that in the genealogy of Jesus Christ. Both Mary and Joseph's kin are in that lineage. And then you get to Abraham, and I do not want to disrespect any of these people that are far more holier than I am. I'm not even worthy to shine their shoes, much less judge them. But they didn't live perfect lives. Even though Abraham was called by God, he lied about his wife 2 times at least, and it sounds like he did it more often. He did it first to Pharaoh, and then again to Abimelech, who lived in the Philistine type region, kind of a proto-Philistine. And then, but if you look at chapter 20, verse 13 of Genesis, you'll see that it seemed like he and Sarah had that arrangement where he would say that she was not his wife and only his sister. Also, Sarah, no perfect saint herself, she had Abraham sleep with Hagar, her Egyptian maid, and then afterwards she got mad at Abraham and said, "This wrong be upon you." Of course, there's more details in the story that didn't get recorded, but still, it seems like she might have been a difficult person at times. Then you have Isaac, his son, who did the same thing. And then Isaac favored the wrong son. He favored Esau instead of Jacob, even though the prophecy said that the younger will rule over the older. And then Rebekah, though she favored the right son, although you really shouldn't favor one of your kids, but she set up a deceptive plot to steal the blessing from Esau when God was going to make it happen anyhow. And then Jacob went along with her trick, but he also tricked Esau with the pot of stew move. In fact, apparently Jacob was used to tricking people and lying, because his name means Jacob, which is supplanter. Then you have his uncle Laban, his wife Leah and Rachel's father, tricked Jacob into marrying. And then not only that, Laban was a worshiper of idols. We know that because Rachel, Jacob's favorite wife, stole those idols. And then Jacob ended up with 4 wives, Rachel, Leah, Bilhah, and Zilhah. And then his oldest, his firstborn, slept with Bilhah, one of his wives. What a mess. And then Simeon and Levi went and massacred a whole nation of people because their little sister Dinah slept with one of the men of that city. Judah had a Canaanite wife, so did Simeon. And Judah had his first two boys were so evil, the Lord himself slew those and Onan, his first two sons, and his twice widowed daughter-in-law, Tamar, dressed up like a prostitute. Judah fell for it, slept with her, and then she had a pair of twins. Very strange story in Genesis 38, one of my favorites, actually. But continuing on, Joseph also seemed like a spoiled brat. But it was also because Jacob favored him quite a bit. But then Joseph's brothers conspired to kill him. Reuben had the idea of having him thrown into a pit so he might secretly rescue him and throw his brothers under the bus. And then you got Nahashon, who's spoken of as a prince, very highly spoken of, but apparently he died in the wilderness with the unfaithful Israelites in the 40 years of wandering. Then we get to David, who lied and plotted to cover up his affair with Bathsheba by having one of his best friends and greatest warriors killed, Uriah the Hittite. Then they had Solomon, who got involved with worshiping so many different pagan gods. It says his wives turned him away from the worship of God. He had 1,000 women in his harem. And then the genealogy diverts, and now we're just dealing with Joseph's genealogy, which doesn't affect Jesus biologically. But if you look at those list of kings, you've got child sacrifice, pagan worship, utter murder and violence all the way through until the final king, Zedekiah. But the basic principle that we can learn from this, it does not matter what your history is. It does not matter who your forefathers were and what you've inherited from them. What matters is if you're true to God, He can reverse the curse and bring blessings into your life, just as He did for Mary and Joseph. The people who parented the Messiah, the Savior of the world. So Jesus had a lot of junk in his ancestry. He had a lot of problems in his ancestry, but that did not stop him from living a life that was honorable to God and ending up being our Savior and our soon-coming King. And today you can choose Him. No matter what your ancestry is, no matter what your forefathers and foremothers have done, Jesus Christ is proof that curses can be reversed, and it would be best if you would choose Him today.